Back in the early 80s, Yamaha came out with a line of ugly ass pedals called the 10 series. Honestly, these things look kind of gross by today's standards. The 10 series was Yamaha's answer to the rising popularity of compact effects pedals from the likes of Boss and Ibanez, and they had all the main food groups covered. There was a distortion, a phaser, a chorus, a flanger, a compressor, a limiter, 2 delays, a reverb, and an EQ. That's all well and good, but if there is one pedal that dominated the 80s and arguably still dominates the market today, it's the trusty Tubescreamer. So what did Yamaha make to tackle that pedal directly? Well, it was the OD10 and then later the OD10 Mark II. While the OD10 and the rest of the 10 series pedals for that matter never shared the same success as Boss, as Ibanez, there's still a nerdy few, and I mean a nerdy few, who seek these pedals out. And one of those nerds is Evil Eye Effects, a company that seems to love finding these obscure, almost forgotten about vintage Japanese pedals and giving them a fresh lease of life. And that's exactly what they did with the Yamaha OD10 Mark II with the Paladin. Told that the Paladin is pretty close to an original OD10 Mark II that Evil Eye Effects actually owns, but they've added some really nice modern quality of life controls and features that I'll get onto in a bit. You could say that the OD10 Mark II and therefore the Paladin are just more Tubescreamer clones, Tubescreamer type pedals, and really the market maybe doesn't need any more of those. And yeah, for sure, the Paladin and the OD10 are definitely in that ballpark, but there are some distinct differences. The Paladin offers that familiar mid-focus sound and slight bass roll-off, but it is overall a flatter, smoother EQ profile, meaning it's more transparent sounding or full of frequency, allowing more of the guitar's natural EQ to come through the tone. I'd also say that it is higher gain than a classic TS9 or 808, and it can go from low gain, boosted overdrive tones, even to some like classic metal tones in here. Even though it is higher gain, I'd also say it is more open and less compressed than a Tubescreamer, giving it a much punchier and more dynamic feel under the fingers. I guess you could say that all of those things that I just mentioned actually make this a more usable and versatile pedal over a Tubescreamer. So my question is, and maybe your question is, why did the OD10 fly so under the radar and many of us haven't even heard of that pedal now? Well, I've got a theory. I don't think usable and versatile pedals make history in the same way that Tubescreamers have. Yes, there are so many use cases for a Tubescreamer now, but it's quite an odd sounding overdrive if you think about it. And I think that's why the Tubescreamer made history, because it defined the sound of a guitar for a whole era, and many different eras, I guess. But today I do think that has changed slightly, and I think a lot of guitarists do look for the most usable, the most versatile guitar tone, and therefore I think the Paladin is a really interesting option for those looking to fulfill that need, but with a bit more character than just a transparent overdrive. Before we take a deeper dive into some of these features, let's hear the Paladin. Something new that you guys might be interested in is this is the first video I'm filming with the Victory Deputy, so I hope you enjoy the tones from that. If you're enjoying this video so far, please go down and subscribe to the channel, give it a like, leave me a comment. All of that stuff really helps me out. Okay, so I think this is actually the Paladin V2, a very slight upgrade over the Paladin V1 with a bit more output and maybe a few different clipping options as well. We got 3 controls, classic overdrive controls. I'll give you a second to guess what they might be. It's volume, tone, and gain. So we all know what that does, although I will say that these are very usable at all extremities, especially the tone knob. There's a huge range of tones, cranking it high or turning it back down. I tend to like it turned down a little bit, maybe at about 9 o'clock. One really cool addition with the Paladin V2 is this clipping switch. In the up position is the stock silicon symmetrical clipping, just like the original OD10 Mark II for that classic vintage Japanese overdrive tone. But flipping that down gives us asymmetrical LED clipping for more output, more open tone, overall maybe a slightly more modern tone. Excellent finishing and hardware on this pedal. We have nice soft switches, German jacks, whatever that means, but they're nice jacks. The artwork is also really, really cool, done by Pinebox Customs. I dig it. I really think it's cool. Like maybe it's Elden Ring inspired. Correct me if I'm wrong, Evil Eye. That looks great. I dig it though. And Evil Eye is quickly becoming a brand that I'm watching out for, and you should too, for sure. Building a reputation for finding those vintage forgotten Japanese pedals and bringing them back and making us aware of not only the original designs but also bringing them to the modern day, and I totally respect that.